A golden morning in Tuscany. The sea glistens just beyond the cypress trees, and nestled among the terracotta hills lies a villa of rare elegance, arched ceilings, private balconies, and a secret garden that whispers old-world luxury. But who is the woman behind this Italian dream? Today, we step inside the world of Lady Kitty Spencer, where fashion royalty, British legacy, and timeless glamour converge under one Mediterranean roof. She was born into a name that already echoed through the corridors of British history. December 28, 1990. At St. Mary's Hospital in London, where princes and princesses entered the world, Lady Kitty Eleanor Spencer took her first breath. Her father was Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer. Her mother, Victoria Lockwood, a former model whose beauty turned heads across continents. But perhaps the most captivating thread in Kitty's lineage? She was the niece of Princess Diana, the people's princess, and the world's unforgettable rose. From the moment she was born, Kitty's life was framed in legacy. But it would take her years, countries, and reinventions to define a legacy of her own. When Kitty was just 7, her parents' marriage dissolved, pulling her childhood between two worlds. In the summers, she wandered the grand gardens of Althorpe with her father in England, the Spencer ancestral estate lined with portraits of dukes and earls. But the rest of the year? She was in South Africa with her mother, soaking in the sun of Cape Town and attending Redham House, a private school known for both academic discipline and creative rebellion. And maybe it was this contradiction, between monarchy and modernity, between discipline and flair, that shaped the woman she would become. She wasn't just a pretty face born into a famous family. She was intellectually restless, emotionally intuitive, and drawn to beauty not as ornament, but as identity. She studied psychology, politics, and English literature at the University of Cape Town, then moved to Florence to study Italian and art history, immersing herself in Renaissance elegance. Still unsatisfied, she returned to London for a master's degree in luxury brand management at Regent's University. Fashion wasn't a mere accessory to Kitty, it was a language, a philosophy. But it would take just one runway to make the world listen. In 2015, Lady Kitty made her modeling debut in Tatler, the same magazine that had once celebrated her mother's iconic cover. She was blonde, poised, and radiant. But unlike other debutantes, Kitty didn't merely model tradition, she bent it. Her moment came when she stepped onto the runway for Dolce & Gabbana during Milan Fashion Week. The crowd paused. Cameras clicked. She wasn't just wearing the gown, she was the gown. Regal, yet unmistakably modern. And so began the partnership of a lifetime. Dolce & Gabbana saw something more in Kitty than a last name. They saw a muse. She would go on to appear in their global campaigns, from Baroque Venice backdrops to Christmas catwalks at Harrods. In 2018, she stunned the world in the spring/summer print campaign shot in the city of masks and mystery. A nod, perhaps, to the complexity of carrying both fame and identity. She was no longer just Diana's niece. She was Kitty. By 2021, the transformation was complete. She was named Global Ambassador for Dolce & Gabbana, joining the ranks of royalty, supermodels, and icons. She also became the face of Bulgari, showcasing their diamonds not as frozen trophies, but as living expressions of femininity and strength. Through it all, Kitty wielded fashion not just as style, but as storytelling. How do you wear history on your sleeve without being consumed by it? How do you honor a family legacy without letting it shadow your own light? Kitty found the answer not just on the catwalks of Milan or in magazine editorials, but in the way she carried herself, with grace, intelligence, and quiet magnetism. And yet, even as the fashion world fell at her feet, there was one place where Kitty Spencer felt truly at home. Not on stage, not in spotlight, but in a secluded villa on the Italian coast. Villa in Italian. Perched gently on a hillside above the glittering bay of Porto Santo Stefano, there stands a villa that feels more like a dream than a home. They call it Villa Paradiso. And for Lady Kitty Spencer, it is just that. A paradise carved from Tuscan stone, kissed by sea air, and wrapped in the serenity of the Italian countryside. From the outside, it exudes timeless elegance. Terracotta rooftops shimmer beneath the Mediterranean sun, while stone walls, aged and dignified, hold the stories of generations. The garden is tiered like a theater, with manicured lawns, tall cypresses, and bursts of lavender swaying in the breeze. This isn't just landscaping, it's choreography. A curved stone stairway leads to the main entrance, where wrought iron doors open into a light-drenched foyer. And then, there it is, the living room. Vast, vaulted, almost cathedral-like. The ceiling arches gracefully above, with large windows casting golden streaks of sunlight across polished marble floors. From here, your eyes are immediately drawn to the sea, always present, always breathing, framed perfectly like a Renaissance painting. It's easy to imagine Kitty here, barefoot, a silk robe grazing the floor, holding a cup of espresso as the morning unfolds quietly beyond the glass. The heart of the villa? A grand Italian kitchen, warm, rustic, and alive with tradition. It's lined with deep wooden cabinets, handmade tiles, and copper pots that hang like jewelry. The scent of basil, roasted garlic, and freshly baked bread seems to linger in the air even when no one is cooking. Here, food isn't prepared, it's celebrated. Behind the scenes, there are discreet staff quarters, a laundry area, and several guest bathrooms, all designed with the same commitment to understated luxury. But it's the upstairs, accessed by an elegant wooden staircase, where the villa truly becomes a sanctuary. 5 bedrooms, each curated like a boutique retreat. But one, the master suite, steals your breath. With its own private balcony overlooking the Tyrrhenian Sea, the room is a canvas of creams and golds, soft linens, and antique mirrors. The ensuite bathroom gleams with travertine stone, a deep, soaking tub, and windows that flood the space with afternoon sun. This is not a palace. It is not a fortress. It is something rarer. It is intimate luxury. There is even a secluded annex, a guest house of sorts, with a lofted bedroom, its own bathroom, and a private entrance. Kitty has hosted friends, artists, even designers here. Some mornings begin with cappuccinos under the olive trees. Some evenings end with candlelit dinners on the terrace, serenaded by the sounds of cicadas and distant waves. And then, the crown jewel, the private beach. Yes, you read that right. Villa Paradiso boasts exclusive access to a stretch of coastline within a government-protected concession. Down a winding stone path and past the garden's last terrace, you'll find a dock, a boathouse, and a platform that kisses the sea itself. This isn't just a home. It's a world where Kitty Spencer, once the girl balancing British tradition and South African freedom, now lives on her own terms, surrounded by Italian elegance, natural beauty, and silence that heals. The villa is said to be worth over $7 million, but that's just the surface value. To Kitty, it's priceless. A place where the noise of London fades, where the flash bulbs of Milan dim, where legacy becomes something personal, where she can finally breathe. But how did she afford such a place? What built the fortune behind this quiet paradise? Let's take a look behind the glamour and into the financial empire of Lady Kitty Spencer. When you think of inherited wealth, you imagine old estates, dusty titles, and family vaults filled with paintings and pearls. But Lady Kitty Spencer's fortune wasn't just passed down. It was curated. Her estimated net worth of $90 million didn't appear overnight. It was built over years of quiet strategy, iconic fashion moments, and impeccable brand alignment. It started with a name, Spencer, but it was Kitty's choices that turned recognition into revenue. Her early modeling career gave her visibility. Appearances in Tatler, Vogue, Japan, Elle Russia, and L'Officiel Brazil made her a darling of the editorial world. But it was her runway work that changed everything. When Dolce & Gabbana invited her to Milan Fashion Week, few expected the impact she would leave. Her grace, her presence, her confidence, it was more than modeling. It was storytelling. She didn't just wear fashion, she inhabited it. Soon after, the contracts came. By 2018, Kitty was starring in Dolce & Gabbana's Spring-Summer campaign, shot in Venice, a setting that echoed her own blend of heritage and modernity. Her collaborations with the brand multiplied. Christmas catwalks at Harrods, couture showcases, and appearances at every major European fashion capital. Then came Bulgari. In 2018, she was named the new face of the luxury jeweler, modeling their Diva's Dream Diamond collection and appearing at charity galas draped in millions of dollars of fine gems. Her ambassadorship wasn't merely symbolic, it was strategic and deeply lucrative. Kitty began leveraging her influence into long-term partnerships. Luxury houses wanted not just her face, but her legacy. She was, after all, Diana's niece, and that resonance carried power. But unlike others who might capitalize on the past, Kitty looked forward. She invested in luxury branding, earned a master's degree in it, and quietly became a consultant behind the scenes, advising on elegance, image, and influence. Add to that her guest appearances, speaking engagements, charity hosting, and Fashion Week features, and the financial picture becomes clearer. This was no accident. And yet, Kitty never flaunted wealth. Her style, both sartorial and financial, is marked by restraint. No tabloid scandals, no impulsive splurges, no headlines about wild parties or over-the-top mansions. Instead, she chose Villa Paradiso, private, serene, and rich with meaning. A reflection not of how much she can spend, but of who she chooses to be. Perhaps the most luxurious thing about Kitty Spencer is her silence. The way she lets elegance speak louder than ego. The way she builds wealth not to flaunt, but to live well, to live peacefully, to live authentically. And in that choice, she mirrors the quiet dignity once carried by her Aunt Diana. But beyond the diamonds and villas, there's a deeper story. One of purpose. Because Lady Kitty's true legacy may not lie in her fashion campaigns or financial success, but in the people she chooses to uplift along the way. Philanthropy. It was a cold winter evening in London, the kind of night when most people would be curled up beside a fireplace, far from the city's frozen sidewalks. But on that night, Lady Kitty Spencer did something unexpected. She zipped up a parka, pulled on boots, and joined dozens of others sleeping outside, not because she had to, but because she chose to. It was Centerpoint's Sleep Out campaign, an annual event raising awareness and funds for youth homelessness. And Kitty, wrapped in blankets beneath the stars, was there not as a celebrity guest, but as a quiet witness, a quiet continuation of something her aunt once began. You see, decades before Kitty ever stood on a catwalk, her aunt, Princess Diana, was walking into homeless shelters, holding the hands of the forgotten, and bringing royal attention to the invisible. Kitty never forgot that legacy. And when she stepped into public life, she chose to follow it. Today, Lady Kitty Spencer is an ambassador for Centerpoint, the very same charity Diana once championed. But she doesn't just lend her name. She shows up. She visits hostels. She listens to the stories of teenagers forced to grow up too fast. She advocates for independent living programs, which provide low-cost housing and life training for vulnerable youth aged 16 to 25. She has introduced award recipients at the Centerpoint Gala, stood beside Prince William, another family torchbearer, and used her platform to shine a light on lives often ignored. But homelessness isn't the only cause close to her heart. Kitty is also a trustee and patron of Give Us Time, a UK-based charity that supports military families. She's spoken at fundraisers, shared emotional stories of soldiers and their children, and helped provide free holiday retreats for families dealing with trauma, separation, and loss. To Kitty, healing isn't just about money. It's about memory. It's about giving people a moment of normal, a week in the sun, a chance to reconnect, a breath. Her work doesn't stop there. In 2017, Kitty helped raise over $175,000 for the Elton John AIDS Foundation, appearing at a Bulgari-sponsored charity event, modeling diamond necklaces that were auctioned for H5 awareness. Her presence turned fashion into fundraising. She's also lent her image and influence to Save the Children UK, participating in campaigns and donation drives for global child welfare. She doesn't just wear crowns and couture, she wears purpose. There's a reason people describe her as graceful beyond her years, because in every act of giving, she honors more than herself. She honors the memory of a woman who changed the way royalty touches the world. Princess Diana wasn't just known for her beauty. She was known for her bravery, her choice to reach, to feel, to cry. Kitty may not walk into landmine fields or challenge paparazzi, but in her own gentle way, she is continuing the work. Quietly, elegantly, powerfully. And maybe that's the most beautiful legacy of all. But while the world applauds her compassion, what is life like when the cameras are gone? Let's step away from the headlines and into Lady Kitty Spencer's most sacred role yet, personal life. For most of the world, Lady Kitty Spencer is known as a fashion icon, a philanthropist, a modern aristocrat. But behind the couture gowns and sparkling jewels, she's simply Kitty, a woman in love, a mother, and a quiet seeker of home. Her love story began far from flashing cameras and gala carpets. In January 2020, Kitty quietly announced her engagement to Michael Lewis, a successful South African-born British businessman and chairman of a global fashion group. He was 32 years her senior, a detail that made headlines, but meant little to those who saw the way they looked at each other. Love, after all, doesn't consult calendars. Their wedding was not held in a palace, nor in London's high society circle, but in the rolling hills of Italy, at the majestic Villa Aldobrandini in Frascati. It was July 24, 2021, and the celebration spanned 3 unforgettable days. Kitty wore not 1 but 5 custom-made Dolce & Gabbana gowns, each a tribute to a different part of her identity. Victorian elegance, English romance, Mediterranean flair. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a symphony of heritage and heart. In that moment, surrounded by olive trees and candlelight, Kitty Spencer became more than a headline. She became a wife, and not long after, a mother. On April 29, 2023, Lady Kitty gave birth to her daughter, a baby girl named Athena. The couple chose to keep the news private, shielding their family life from the noise of the outside world. It wasn't until March 2024, nearly a year later, that Kitty quietly shared images of Athena in celebration of her first birthday. No grand reveal, no media frenzy, just a mother honoring a moment. Athena joined a blended family, with Kitty lovingly embracing Michael's 3 adult children from a previous marriage. Her world is no longer defined by runways or royal bloodlines, but by school pickups, soft lullabies, and sunlit mornings in a villa by the sea. Those who visit her home in Tuscany say she rises early, walks barefoot through the garden, and reads Italian poetry in the late afternoon. Her days are filled with the rhythm of real life, caring, cooking, creating. Occasionally, she travels for charity events or fashion commitments, but always returns quickly to the stillness she's built. It's a lifestyle few expected from someone born into the Spencer name. But perhaps that's Kitty's quiet rebellion. In a world that often demands spectacle, she has chosen softness. In a family once torn by headlines, she has chosen harmony. And in a legacy defined by royalty, she has chosen humanity. So if you ask who Lady Kitty Spencer is today, she is a woman of grace, a mother of one, and a guardian of peace. She is the echo of Diana's empathy, the reflection of a new nobility that doesn't need a crown to shine. And above all, she is living proof that elegance isn't loud. It simply endures. If you believe that true elegance lies in kindness, compassion, and quiet strength, then Lady Kitty Spencer's story is one worth sharing. Like this video, subscribe for more timeless journeys, and leave a comment. What part of Kitty's life spoke to you the most?